The night before my wedding, he slid a family contract across the kitchen table. I had to invite his entire side of relatives, thank him publicly for funding everything. I folded the paper in half. No. The morning of my wedding, I clipped a tiny microphone under the lace of my dress and queued up a tribute video on the reception hall's LED screen. Everyone thought it would be childhood photos. It wasn't. When he grabbed my wrist in the flower-lined aisle, the sound of his slap echoed through the speakers. The entire venue fell silent. And that's when my plan lit up. My name is Ava Whitaker, and I learned early that some men collect control like trophies. Martin Hale married my mother when I was 14, moved into our split-level house in Cedar Falls, Michigan, and immediately started rewriting the rules. "You're making your mother look bad," he'd say, sliding a credit card statement across the dinner table. The charge, a $20 copay for my therapist. Depression is just laziness with a fancy name. I kept every receipt, every text, every voicemail. The pattern was always the same. He'd offer something generous in public, college textbook money, car repairs, medical bills, then demand double back in private. "Family helps family," he'd say, while calculating interest on a spreadsheet he kept on his laptop, the one labeled investments. I was his investment. A bad one, apparently. "Your degree in physical therapy?" He laughed at Thanksgiving dinner, wine glass raised to my relatives. "I practically paid for it. She owes me everything." The table chuckled politely. No one saw him corner me later by the garage, demanding $500 for hosting expenses. My mother, Lydia, perfected the art of looking away. She'd hum while washing dishes, text about grocery lists during arguments, develop sudden migraines when I tried to show her my bank statements. "Martin just wants what's best for the family," became her mantra. I started recording everything at 22. Every dinner where he'd humiliate me about my weight, my job, my failure to find a real man. The phone was always in my pocket, voice memo app running. Cloud storage became my safety deposit box. When I met Ethan Cross at North River Rehab, he was there for a torn ACL. I was his physical therapist. Martin called it fishing in the patient pool. When Ethan proposed, Martin took credit. "I taught her how to keep a man interested," he told the engagement party. "Wasn't easy." 3 months before the wedding, Martin announced his contribution, $10,000 toward the venue, but with conditions typed up like a business contract. His entire side of relatives on the guest list. A father-daughter dance to My Girl. A 5-minute speech about how he saved our broken family. "You're not my father," I said. "I'm the only father who stayed," he replied. That night, I sat in my apartment, laptop open, sorting 5 years of evidence into folders, audio clips labeled by date, screenshots of texts demanding money, photos of bruises from when he'd grabbed my arm too hard, always where sleeves would cover. The wedding became my countdown, not to happiness. I already had that with Ethan. This was a countdown to justice. To the moment everyone who ever sat at his table, laughed at his jokes, ignored his cruelty, would hear exactly who Martin Hale really was. I opened a new document and started typing wedding security protocol. The man wanted to walk me down the aisle. Fine, but he wouldn't walk away from it. The rehearsal dinner was Martin's stage, and he'd rented the entire back room at Rosewood Grill to fill it. 50 people, maybe more, all watching him play the generous patriarch. "Order anything," he announced, waving the leather menu like a conductor's baton. "Tonight's on me. My beautiful stepdaughter deserves the best." I watched him order bottles of Caymus Cabernet, $90 each, lobster towers, Wagyu beef. The table erupted in appreciation, his relatives taking photos for Facebook, tagging him as Father of the Year. At 9:45 p.m., the check arrived. Martin's face transformed into practiced shock. "My card. It must be in my other jacket." He turned to me, voice pitched perfectly for the audience. "Sweetheart, would you mind? I'll transfer you the money tomorrow." $3,700. The old me would have paid, swallowed the humiliation, accepted his eventual excuse about forgetting to pay me back. The old me died sometime between recordings 47 and 48. Not my problem, I said, standing up. My napkin dropped onto the creme brulee. The room went silent. Forks suspended mid-air. His sister Karen stopped mid-Instagram story. Ava, my mother's warning tone. Don't be difficult. I pulled out my phone, took a photo of the check. The flash was unnecessary but satisfying. Then I recorded a 10-second video of Martin's face, that beautiful mixture of rage and embarrassment. If you want to treat everyone, I said, loud enough for the whole room. Use your own money. I left. Behind me, I heard Martin's forced laugh, his scramble for explanations, the rustle of him actually finding his credit card. My phone buzzed immediately. Mom, that was uncalled for. Mom, you humiliated him. Mom, family supports family. Mom, please come back and apologize. I screenshot every message. 20 minutes later, sitting in my car, I called Nora Blake, the lawyer Ethan's colleague had recommended. I need to understand something, I said. If someone commits assault at a private venue, in front of witnesses, what happens? Depends on the venue's policies, Nora replied. Many places now have zero-tolerance clauses, especially wedding venues. They don't want liability. And if there's documentation video audio, then it becomes very hard for the perpetrator to deny it happened. I thought about Martin's patterns, the way anger built in his jaw first, then his shoulders, how he always grabbed wrists, never upper arms, harder to photograph the bruises. One more thing, I added. Can I legally record someone at my own wedding? In Michigan, you only need one party's consent for recording. If it's your wedding, your venue, your equipment, absolutely. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to the Iron Orchard Barn instead, my wedding venue 30 minutes outside Cedar Falls. The owner, Janet, was still there, reviewing next weekend's setup. I need to add some security measures, I told her. Janet pulled out the contract. We have a strict policy about guest behavior. Any physical altercation, we call the police. No exceptions. Can I add private security? At your expense, of course. And the sound system, can I connect my own microphone? She looked at me carefully. Expecting trouble. Preventing it, I said. We amended the contract. Every addition was initialed, dated, stamped. I paid for 2 off-duty officers, added a clause about recording rights, made sure the venue's insurance covered domestic incidents. Martin thought the wedding was his last chance to perform the loving father role for his audience. He was right about one thing. It would definitely be a performance no one would forget. The week before my wedding, I built my case like I was preparing for trial. Every piece had to be legally airtight, every witness positioned, every recording admissible. Officer Tom Rayner met me at a Starbucks downtown, 15 years on the force, now doing private security on weekends. You're expecting an incident, he asked, reviewing the venue layout I'd printed. I'm expecting my stepfather to lose control when he doesn't get his way, I said. He has a pattern. Tom nodded. I'll wear the body cam. Venue security will have their own cameras, but personal footage helps. What about backup? Officer Derek Chen is on standby. I replied. Janet at the venue has his number. And local PD. Already notified there's a wedding with potential domestic issues. They have Martin's photo and description. I slid him an envelope. Inside Martin's history. 3 police reports I'd filed over the years, all dismissed as family disputes. The restraining order I'd tried to get at 21, denied because grabbing wrists isn't severe enough physical harm. This time will be different, Tom said. My next stop was FedEx, where I met with a process server named Linda, 60 years old, served papers for 30 years, looked like everyone's grandmother until she opened her mouth. Serving papers at a wedding. She grinned. That's cold. I love it. Only if he touches me, I clarified. The civil suit is ready. Assault. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, financial coercion, but I only want it served if he gets physical. Honey, men like this always get physical when they lose control. I gave her the venue address, the timeline, Tom's contact information. She'd wait in the parking lot, papers ready, phone on. Maya came to my apartment that evening, USB drive in hand. Show me this tribute video again. I opened the file on my laptop. It started sweet, baby photos, family Christmas cards. Then, at the 40-second mark, it shifted. Bank statements appearing with highlighted demands. Audio waveforms playing Martin's voice. You're worthless. Pay me back now. You embarrass this family. Jesus, Ava. There's more. I showed her the folder 5 years of evidence, compressed into a 3-minute montage. If he touches me, you play this immediately. What if he doesn't? Then we have a normal wedding, and I never speak to him again. But I knew better. Martin needed control like lungs need air. The microphone arrived via Amazon Prime. A Rode Wireless Go, small enough to hide under lace, strong enough to pick up whispers from 3 feet away. I tested it with the venue's sound system during my final walkthrough. Crystal clear. Having speeches during the ceremony. Janet asked, watching me adjust levels on the soundboard. Something like that. I signed the last amendment to our contract, granting the venue permission to cooperate fully with law enforcement if needed. Janet's wedding coordinator, Beth, witnessed it. 3 days before the wedding, I created a shared Google Drive folder, Wedding Day Evidence. I gave access to Tom, Nora, Maya, and Ethan inside. I uploaded everything, timestamps on every file, chain of custody clear. Ethan found me at 2 a.m, still organizing files. You could just not invite him, he said quietly. He'd show up anyway, make a scene, play the victim. I turned to face him. This way, when he acts out, it's his choice, his consequences. And if he doesn't, then I married you in front of people I love, and that's enough. But Ethan saw what I saw, the text from Martin that evening. We need to discuss your behavior at the rehearsal dinner. I'll be at the bride's room at 9 a.m. sharp. Don't disappoint your mother again. The trap was set. All Martin had to do was be himself. I backed up everything to 3 different clouds, sent copies to Nora, and created a QR code linking to the evidence folder. That QR code would be printed, tiny and discreet, on the back of every wedding program, just in case. The morning of my wedding arrived gray and humid, storms threatening from the west. I was in the bride's suite at 8:30 a.m., Maya pinning my hair while my cousins popped champagne I wouldn't drink. I needed clarity today. At 8:55 a.m., my mother knocked. Martin's here. Send him in, I said, activating the microphone clipped inside my dress. The little red light blinked once, then stayed solid. Recording. Martin entered wearing his rented tux, already sweating through the collar. He'd gained weight recently, stress eating from his latest failed business venture, something I knew from the bankruptcy filing he didn't know I'd found. We need to adjust to the ceremony order, he announced, not bothering with pleasantries. I'll walk you down the aisle, do the handoff to Ethan, then I'll speak. 5 minutes about family values, how I saved you and your mother. No changes, I said, continuing to apply lipstick. Ethan's father is doing a reading. That's the only speech. Martin stepped closer. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Maya's hand stilled on my shoulder. You ungrateful little... He caught himself, smiled. I paid $10,000 for this venue. Actually, you paid $3,500. I have the receipt. I turned to face him. The rehearsal dinner, remember, the one where your card mysteriously worked after I left. His jaw worked side to side, that tell I knew so well. Your mother will be devastated if I don't walk you down the aisle. Mom will survive. I'll tell everyone what you really are, he hissed, leaning in. The microphone would catch everything. How you lived in my house rent-free, how you stole money from your mother's purse in high school, how you stole money. I laughed. You mean the $60 I took to pay for my SAT exam, the one you promised to cover but didn't? He grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to leave marks. He'd learned that lesson. But firm enough to assert dominance. You embarrass me today, and I'll destroy you. I'll post everything on Facebook, every family group chat. Your husband's employer will know what trash he married. Let go, I said calmly. After you agree to... Martin. Ethan's voice from the doorway. He didn't move closer, didn't threaten, just stood there, phone visible in his hand. She said, let go. Martin released me, stepped back, transformed his face into wounded confusion. Just trying to calm pre-wedding jitters. You know how emotional women get. After he left, Maya checked my wrist. Faint red marks, already fading. She took photos anyway. You okay? Ethan asked. Perfect, I said. Did you get it? He held up his phone. Video of Martin grabbing me, the audio clear even from the doorway. Another backup to the microphone recording. By 10:45 a.m., guests were arriving in droves. Martin's side took up the entire left section. Cousins, business associates, people I'd never met wearing expensive clothes and judgment. His sister Karen already had her phone out. Live streaming on Facebook. Perfect. More witnesses. Tom checked in via text. In position. Body cam active. Linda messaged next. Papers ready. White Honda in row 3. The wedding coordinator knocked. 5 minutes to processional. I did one last check. Microphone battery full. Phone recording in my bouquet, hidden among the peonies. Maya had the USB ready. The QR codes sat innocently on 200 programs. My mother appeared in the doorway, wringing her hands. Martin's upset. Can't you just let him say something small for family peace? There won't be any peace today, Mom, I said. But there will be truth. She left without asking what I meant. She never asked the hard questions. At 11 a.m. sharp, the music started. I stood at the barn's entrance, watching Martin position himself beside me, uninvited. Last chance, he whispered, linking his arm through mine without permission. Play along, or I'll make such a scene your wedding will be ruined. You're right, I said, adjusting my microphone one final time. Someone's definitely about to make a scene. The doors opened, 200 faces turned toward us. And Martin Hale walked me straight into my trap. The aisle stretched before me, lined with white roses and baby's breath, 200 guests rising from their seats. Martin's grip on my arm tightened with each step, his breathing getting heavier, angrier. Halfway down, he leaned in, lips barely moving. You embarrassed me at the rehearsal dinner. The words hit the microphone perfectly. Through the speakers, soft but clear, his voice echoed across the barn. A few guests glanced at each other, confused. Martin froze, realizing something was wrong. His fingers dug into my forearm. Let go, I said, my amplified voice calm and steady. What did you... He spotted the tiny microphone wire running along my neckline. His face went purple. You little bitch. That went through the speakers, too. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone's baby started crying. I tried to step away, but Martin yanked me back, hard enough that my bouquet fell. The phone inside it clattered across the wooden floor, still recording. His hand swung up, and for a moment, everything moved in slow motion, the shock on my mother's face, Ethan stepping forward from the altar, Tom already moving from his position by the door. The slap connected with my left cheek. The sound system, set to maximum sensitivity for the vows, amplified it into a thundercrack that seemed to shake the barn's rafters. My head snapped sideways. The veil tore free. 3 bobby pins scattered across the floor like dropped coins. Complete silence. Even the baby stopped crying. Then Martin grabbed my wrist, twisting it backward. You think you're smart. You think, stop. Tom's voice cut through, professional and firm. He wasn't running, wasn't escalating, just walking purposefully down the aisle, body cam prominent on his chest. "Sir, I need you to release her." "This is a family matter," Martin snarled, but his grip loosened slightly. That's when Maya pressed play. The LED screen behind the altar, where our tribute video was supposed to play during the reception, lit up. My baby photo appeared for exactly 2 seconds before it cut to black. Then the evidence began. A text message filled the screen. "Pay me back now or I tell everyone what a worthless daughter you are." Date stamp. December 15th, 2021. Audio waveform. Next. Martin's voice booming through the speakers. "Depression is just laziness. You're embarrassing your mother." A bank statement. $3,000 transferred from my account to his. The memo line I'd been forced to write, "Gift to Dad." Photo after photo, recording after recording. 5 years condensed into devastating clarity. The guests sat frozen, watching Martin Hale exposed in his own words, his own texts, his own voice. "Turn it off," Martin roared, releasing me to lunge toward the screen. Tom intercepted him smoothly, keeping his body cam centered on Martin's face. "Sir, you need to calm down." "I said turn it off." Martin shoved Tom hard in the chest, assaulting an officer. The final mistake. Tom's expression didn't change. "Martin Hale, you're under arrest for assault and battery." He pulled out his cuffs with practiced efficiency. "You have the right to remain silent." Martin thrashed, trying to pull away. "You can't arrest me. This is my stepdaughter's wedding. I paid for this." Derek, the second officer, appeared from the side entrance, helping Tom secure Martin's wrists behind his back. The metallic click of the handcuffs echoed through the silent barn. My mother stood up, shaking. "Ava, please, don't do this. Not today. Not like this." "He did this. Mom," I said into the microphone, my voice steady despite the burning in my cheek. "Every choice was his." Karen lowered her phone, the Facebook live stream capturing everything. Martin's business partners were already heading for the exits. His cousins sat in stunned silence. The video kept playing. The final clip security footage from the rehearsal dinner. Martin laughing as he told the table how he'd trained me to be acceptable. Linda walked in through the main entrance, papers in hand, moving toward Martin with the confidence of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Everyone went silent. 200 people, and not a single word. The barn felt airless, suspended in time, as if the universe itself was holding its breath to witness the fall of Martin Hale. Linda approached with the measured pace of someone who'd walked into countless volatile situations. Her floral dress and grandmother pearls contrasted sharply with the legal documents in her weathered hands. "Martin Hale." She stopped 3 feet from him, maintaining professional distance while Tom held him steady. "You're being served." "Served what the hell?" "Civil suit for assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and financial coercion." Linda's voice carried across the barn, clear and practiced. She held up her phone. Recording. "This service is being documented per Michigan state law in the presence of multiple witnesses." She placed the papers at Martin's feet since his hands were cuffed. "You've been legally served at 11:23 on Saturday, August 10th. Martin kicked at the papers, scattering them across the aisle. "You planned this." "You set me up, sir. Stop moving," Derek warned, steadying Martin as he thrashed against the cuffs. The main doors opened. 2 Cedar Falls police officers entered, not off duty, but on duty, responding to the venue's call. Their presence shifted the energy entirely. This wasn't private security anymore. This was real. "We received a report of assault," the senior officer, badge 4782, announced. His partner already had her notepad out. "Multiple witnesses," Tom confirmed, tapping his body cam. "Plus venue security footage and audio recording through the sound system. The victim has visible injury to her face." The officer approached me. My cheek was already swelling, a perfect handprint developing in red and purple. "Ma'am, do you want to press charges?" "Yes," I said clearly into the microphone. No hesitation. "This is ridiculous," Martin shouted. "She provoked me. She humiliated me in front of my family." "Sir, you're making this worse," the officer said. "Anything you say can and will be used against you." My mother stood up, wobbling. "Officers, please, this is a misunderstanding. Family issues. Can't we handle this privately?" "Ma'am, assault in front of 200 witnesses isn't a private matter," the female officer replied. The paramedics arrived next, standard protocol for assault calls. They checked my cheek, my wrist, documented everything with photographs. The female paramedic was gentle but thorough. "Scale of 1 to 10, pain level 4. I said. "Any previous injuries from this individual?" "Yes, documented with my lawyer." She made notes, took more photos under different lighting, every angle, every mark, evidence that couldn't be disputed. Martin had gone quiet, finally understanding. His relatives were recording everything on their phones now, not for Facebook celebration, but for evidence, gossip, protection. Karen had turned completely white, her live stream still running, comments flooding in real time. "Transport him," the senior officer decided. "We'll process him at the station." As they led Martin toward the door, he twisted to look back at me. "You've destroyed this family. Your mother will never forgive you." I lifted the microphone one last time. "I choose safety and truth." The officers guided him outside. Through the open doors, everyone could see the police cruiser, lights flashing but no sirens. They put Martin in the back seat, careful with his head like they do on TV. The door slammed shut. My mother sank back into her chair, staring at nothing. She didn't come to check on me, didn't ask if I was okay, just sat there, probably calculating how this would affect her social standing at church. Linda gathered the scattered legal papers, placing fresh copies on my mother's lap. "Mrs. Hale, your husband will need these for his attorney." The barn remained silent except for the faint squawk of police radios outside. 200 people, and nobody knew what to do. The wedding arch stood waiting. The flowers hadn't wilted. The ring bearer, my 5-year-old nephew, was still holding his little pillow, confused why everyone had stopped moving. Through it all, Ethan hadn't moved from the altar. He stood there, waiting, letting me have this moment. The evidence video had ended, the screen now showing a simple message: "Documentation available via QR code on your programs." Phones came out. The scanning began. In minutes, everyone would have access to 5 years of proof. Tom returned, his duty done. Body cam still recording. "The venue needs to know how to proceed. Miss Whitaker." Everyone went silent again, waiting. The barn felt like a courthouse. My wedding dress suddenly feeling like armor. The senior officer pulled out his tablet, fingers moving efficiently across the screen. "Miss Whitaker, I need to complete the incident report. We have venue security footage." Janet appeared with a laptop, her wedding coordinator demeanor replaced by grim efficiency. "Everything's recorded. 4 cameras caught the assault. The sound system recorded all audio, time-stamped, high definition. We'll need copies," the officer said. "Already uploading to a secure drive," Janet confirmed. "We've handled situations like this before." The female officer approached with an evidence camera. "Miss Whitaker, I need to photograph your injuries again with our equipment. Chain of custody." I stood still as she documented everything, the handprint on my cheek, the red marks on my wrist, the torn veil, the scattered bobby pins that Tom was now bagging as evidence. 212 witnesses, Derek noted, looking at the guest list. "We'll need contact information for everyone." Maya stepped forward with her iPad. "I have the digital guest registry. Everyone checked in electronically. Names, phone numbers, emails." The officers exchanged glances. This was the most organized crime scene they'd probably ever processed. "The victim clearly prepared for this possibility," the senior officer observed, not unkindly. "Smart," Dr. Robert Harrison, Ethan's colleague and a guest, stood up. "I'm an emergency physician. I examined Miss Whitaker's injuries immediately after the assault. I can provide a medical statement. Noted. The officer added it to his report. My mother finally spoke, her voice hollow. Officers, does he have to stay arrested? Can't we just— Ma'am, your husband assaulted 2 people in front of witnesses and cameras. He shoved Officer Rayner. That's assault on a peace officer. These aren't charges that disappear. Bail, she asked weakly. Judge sets that Monday morning. He'll be held until then. Karen approached the officers, phone clutched in her hand. I was live streaming. I have the whole thing from a different angle. Send it to this email. The officer handed her a card. One by one, guests started offering their recordings. Different angles, different moments. Martin's grab, his slap, his shove of Tom. The internet age had turned my wedding into a thoroughly documented crime scene. The paramedic finished her assessment. Miss Whitaker should go to the ER for proper documentation. That cheek needs an X-ray. After, I said. I'm getting married first. Everyone turned to stare. Ma'am, the senior officer said carefully, you've just been assaulted. You're pressing charges. Are you sure you want to, Officer? Martin Hale tried to control this day like he's controlled everything else. I picked up my bouquet, straightened what was left of my veil. He doesn't get to cancel my wedding, too. The officer made more notes. The venue is still a crime scene until we finish processing. How long? I asked. 20 more minutes. Maybe 30. Then we wait 30 minutes? Maya grabbed the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief intermission while the authorities complete their work. The bar is open. Please help yourselves. People slowly started moving, whispers building into conversations. Martin's relatives huddled in corners, already on phones with lawyers probably. My side formed a protective circle around my mother, who hadn't moved. Tom approached with an evidence bag containing my phone from the bouquet. This was recording too. Video. Should have caught everything from floor level. You really did prepare for everything. I prepared for him to be himself, I corrected. That's all I needed to do. Janet brought me ice for my cheek. The wedding photographer, who'd captured everything, quietly asked if I wanted the assault photos deleted. I told him to keep them. Evidence was evidence. At 12:15 p.m., the senior officer closed his tablet. Scenes processed. The DA will be in touch Monday. Your restraining order will likely be automatic given the circumstances. Thank you. He paused at the door. Miss Whitaker, in 15 years of doing this, I've never seen anyone handle domestic violence this smart, legal, documented, witnessed. He can't wiggle out of this. After they left, the barn felt different, smaller somehow, despite the missing presence of Martin and the relatives who'd fled with him. About 50 people had left. The others remained, witnesses to something they'd never forget. Maya took the microphone again. The father-daughter dance is canceled. The stepfather speech is canceled. Everything else proceeds as planned. I walked back to the altar where Ethan waited. No words needed, just a nod. The justice of the peace cleared his throat. Shall we begin again? The barn doors closed behind the last police officer, and suddenly I could breathe again. The space felt cleaner somehow, like someone had opened windows after years of stale air. I stood at the altar, my cheek throbbing beneath the ice pack, watching the remaining guests resettle into their seats. About 150 people stayed, our real family, the ones who chose truth over comfort. Ethan took my hands. No grand gesture, no dramatic declaration, just steady presence. Do you, Ava Whitaker? The justice of the peace began again. Take this man. Yes, I said, before he could finish. A ripple of gentle laughter through the crowd. Sorry. Continue. The ceremony was brief. No interruptions. No toxic speeches. When Ethan kissed me, careful of my bruised cheek, the applause was subdued but genuine, real. The LED screen, which had displayed evidence 20 minutes ago, now showed what it was meant to: childhood photos of Ethan and me, separate lives that had led to this moment. Maya had switched the files while the police worked, smooth as silk. During the reception, people approached carefully, unsure what to say. Dr. Harrison brought me ibuprofen. Janet comped the entire bar bill. "Least I can do," she said. The photographer showed me a beautiful shot, Ethan and me at the altar, sunlight streaming through the barn windows. My bruised face turned toward hope instead of fear. My mother left without saying goodbye. I watched her walk to her car, shoulders bent, probably already crafting the story she'd tell her church friends. Martin's remaining relatives disappeared gradually, slipping out between the cake cutting and first dance. But the people who mattered stayed. They danced. They laughed. They created the wedding Martin had tried to steal. At 3:45 p.m., as Ethan and I swayed to our first dance, my phone buzzed. Nora, my lawyer, saw the footage. Ironclad case. Restraining order will be automatic. Criminal charges will stick. Civil suit is a slam dunk. You did everything right. Everything right. After years of doing everything wrong, staying quiet, protecting his reputation, enabling his control, I'd finally done everything right. The DJ, sensing the mood needed lifting, started playing Walking on Sunshine. Maya grabbed the microphone. "Anyone who's ever stood up to a bully, get on this dance floor right now." The floor filled. My co-workers from North River Rehab, Ethan's entire rugby team, my cousin who'd escaped her own abusive marriage, the photographer who'd been raised by a stepfather who chose love over control. We danced like survivors, because that's what we were. As the sun set through the barn windows, casting everything in gold, I realized something. This wasn't the wedding I'd planned. It was better. It was honest. Martin would spend the weekend in jail. He'd face charges. He'd pay damages. His reputation, the thing he valued most, was destroyed by his own actions, documented and distributed to 200 witnesses who'd spread the story far wider than any Facebook post he could have made. But more importantly, I was free. Not just legally, not just physically, but completely free. The microphone that had captured his abuse was packed away. The evidence files could be closed. The years of recording, documenting, preparing, over. Ethan spun me one last time as the song ended, and I caught my reflection in the barn window. Bruised face, torn veil, smeared makeup. I looked beautiful. I looked like someone who'd won. The camera in my mind pulled back, rising above the barn, above the dancing guests and twinkling lights. The parking lot where a police cruiser had been. The empty space where Martin's Lexus had sat. The Honda where Linda had waited with papers now served. All of it growing smaller as the frame widened, until the Iron Orchard barn was just a glowing dot in the Michigan countryside, full of music and liberation. The sound faded last, laughter replacing years of silence, celebration overriding fear, joy drowning out the echo of that slap. And in the end, that's what revenge looked like, not destroying him, but refusing to let him destroy me, building something beautiful on ground he'd tried to poison, dancing at my wedding while he sat in a cell he'd locked himself into with his own fists. The lens closed, the story ended, not with silence, but with song. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your experiences and perspectives make this community stronger,